GM, everybody. I think I'm the last person between you and lunch, so I'm super glad that you're here, and I hope to make it short and sweet. Today I want to tell you about PubKey. We're building open source foundations on Solana, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, what we actually do, products we're building. We're going to talk a little bit about decentralization and the challenges that it brings, because it's not a zero-sum game. It's most of the things in the industry. So a little bit about myself. I'm B-Man. I'm the founder of PubKey. I've worked in tech since the late 90s, and the last 15 years I focused on software development. Sure. There we go. So yeah, B-Man, founder of PubKey, worked in tech for a bunch of years. I'm a big open source advocate. I've been in Solana since early 2021, minted the original Creatures collection. I'm a proud Dean's List citizen, but I mostly go by this monkey. If you want, you can follow me on X with bman_NL. So a little bit about PubKey. PubKey is not really an organization. I'm not registered. It's not a DAO. But it's just a placeholder name that I have to build my open source software on Solana. And instead of figuring out a new name and a new brand for every product I do, I realized it's easier just to have one umbrella, and I can just experiment around. And that way I can spend most time on building and less time on marketing and doing like more superficial things like branding. We focus on software that's around identity and access control. So this is something that we'll talk about today. It's not really related to DAOs directly, but it's tangentially related, because identity and knowing who's the other person you're dealing with is clearly super important when it comes to monetary protocols, right? So one of the products we created is called PubKey Link. It's a free and open source Discord verification tool on Solana. Now, I'd love to see hands. Who here has ever verified their wallet to get access to a Discord channel? Okay, that's about half of us. Good. So let's go over it, what it is. But first, a little bit about the project. The first prototype of PubKey Link, before it was called this way, was built because the main player in our Solana ecosystem, called Metrica, they didn't support compressed NFTs. And this was around the time that Drip, most of you probably know Drip, they launched an NFT collection based on these compressed NFTs, and it wasn't supported. So I started hacking around and built a prototype, and it worked. And then I met the lovely people of Dean's List, and they were like, hey dude, you can do something with Discord verification, let's build a bot. And we decided for me to participate in the hackathon, Hyperdrive hackathon. And lo and behold, I won the first prize in the DAO track in the hackathon with this product, and I worked on it ever since. Now, let's go over what it actually does. The thing that we do with PubKey Link is often called a token gate. So let's assume this is our Dean's List villa. We don't have it just yet, but might be. In order to get into our villa, you either need one of these lovely NFTs, or you need to hold 10,000 of our Dean token. And this is the whole premise of it. Presentation done. No, not really. We'll go into it, how this works. But you either need to prove that you have one of these things. Now, what that looks like in PubKey is something like this. We define the role here, and we say, you need like 10,000 of these tokens or one of this collection. So you define the roles, and at the same end, you manage here your Discord bot. Probably most important thing here is the invite button. So you invite this bot to your Discord server, and then it'll appear, and it can manage roles. So the bot appears there, and here you can see I got the roles token holder and one of us. Now, you might ask yourself, how does the bot know which role to grant to which user, right? Because this is pretty crucial in this setup. So let's go over the user flow, what they need to do to get into PubKey. So initially, we're not going to read it, but you'll be welcomed by a message. This is one of the messages you see when you join. It's in a public channel. And it asks you to sign up with Discord. Then, after you're signed in, you'll be asked to link a Solana wallet. Now, this is done by a very standard flow. So there's a small wizard. If you click Verify Wallet, your wallet will pop up. You sign the message, and that's it. One of the things that we added for power users is the way to verify a Solana wallet that's not in your browser. We call this an offline wallet. This is for power users and developers. They use the Solana CLI, and they are used to signing messages with commands like this. So this is kind of a way to prevent a potential malicious wallet, because if you have a wallet in between and you load your secret in there, you're exposing your secret to the wallet. Wallet might be malicious. So this is a more secure way to verify. What's clearly harder. Like my mom would never get this, right? Whereas the previous one, possibly. Now, in both cases, once you're done with the setup, you'll end up with your profile. And here you can see that these are your verified identities. And keep this in mind, because this is kind of interesting. We'll get back to this later. In reality, how this mostly works, most people will add multiple wallets, right? Because we're educated to store your assets in multiple wallets. You might have a ledger. You might have some tokens in a separate wallet. You might just have bought something of Jupiter. So here you can link it all together. And in the back, PubKey will index all of your wallets, figure out your assets, and if you meet these conditions we just mentioned, you'll get the role. So, curious if there's any questions so far about Discord, role verification, or if this is clear. Clear, okay, amazing. So, a few things that we've built recently, basically over the last year since I was here. We added support for offline wallet verification, the things I just saw. We added support for validator verification. So we worked together with Solana Foundation, and we're now adding the option to verify if somebody runs a Solana validator. Now, how do they do this? On Solana, a validator has their own key pair. So they go into PubKey, they do an offline verification with this key pair, and now we know that this person runs a certain validator. This was super important for Solana Foundation that it was open source. They hosted themselves. I have no access to this service. I don't know. I do help them setting it up, but it's their game. They run the show, and they paid the project to add these features. Another thing that we added is identity delegation. And this is also interesting for Solana validators specifically. Because if I join a DAO, I'm me, and my wallet belongs to me, my assets belong to me. But if you run a validator, you probably have a team of 3, 4, 5 people that actually that belong to this one validator key pair. So we added a way to delegate people. So now I can say, hey, I run a validator, and Legend's in my team. I'm going to delegate him, so that the same identity and any perks that I get for having this identity also apply to him. Now, this doesn't make sense in a way how we use it at Dienstlist. I don't want anybody to leverage my NFT that I bought because it's personal. We added support for token extensions, which is a new token standard on Solana. We added documentations for self-hosting. This was built by my friend Alex Bala, mostly, for which thanks. And we done a UX UI cleanup with the help of Moxie, one of our other citizens of Dienstlist. So most of the code is done by myself, but I try to get external help from friends and from Dienstlist and to bring this to the next level. Now, a few things that we're going to work on. First and foremost, support tokens in Realms. Legend asked this almost every week, I think, now. I yesterday heard that Realms has a grants program, so I'm going to talk to Deans, and maybe we can get something in there. We're going to add Telegram channel verification. This is one of our most requested features. We want to do the same, but we want to gate access on Telegram. And then 2 other things I'm particularly interested about is adding an option to buy an NFT on Tensor or buy your tokens directly into Jupiter. So you can basically buy your way into a DAO. You get somewhere, I want to get in, you directly connect your wallet, buy the tokens or NFTs you need, and you should be in. So that's kind of the flow here, and that's kind of the idea of the upcoming features. Now I want to point on this. I said I'm an open source advocate. I think open source is the right way to build and distribute software, especially in an ecosystem like ours. I think transparency is key. It's crucial that we're able to see what the software does, that we can host our own instance. Like, I really like to have the freedom of taking a software, installing it in my server, know what it does, I know when to update, I know which version I want to be on. I basically want to have it in my own control. In addition, it allows people to make changes, run a variation, and if I ever decide to stop maintaining the project, they can just continue using it without being affected of my decision that I'm going to pivot. I'm not, but it's great to have a guarantee that this tool will be available under a very permissive license. Now, this self-hosted is kind of a double-edged sword because I really like it, but the single most asked question for PubKey is, oh, this is really cool, I'd love to use it. Can you host it for me? And up until today, I always had to say, yeah, kinda, but not really. So I did the favor for friends. I hosted for Dienstlist. I hosted for Marinate, but this is clearly not sustainable in the long term. So of all of these things, these are all there. Solana hosts them himself. Marinate, I host them. There's PubKey, there's a Honeycomb protocol. I know that they host an instance. There's probably more. I don't really know. But as of today, I'm excited to announce that we now do PubKey link hosting. So, yay, So that means that PubKey will take care of all of this stuff for you. We'll support the standard things, Metaplex NFTs, SPL tokens. We'll support the Discord bot. As soon as Telegram is there, we'll throw it in as well. We don't like to lock special features behind special tiers. I like transparency and simplicity. So I think this is the simplest way to go. We'll do things like hourly backups, we'll give support over Discord, and we'll make sure that there's no vendor lock-in. What I mean with that is, at any point, you can export the data that you have, install it in your own server, and run away. If you don't like our service, we don't provide a good service, you're free to go. I never want to lock you in. Now, because of the decentralized nature of PubKey Link, we have a few challenges here. And I like to touch on these challenges because it's not only something that we see, it's something that happens in the broader ecosystem. And the reason why we see it at PubKey is exactly because of these decentralized instances. If we go back a few slides and think about it, if Dienstlist and Marinate host their own server, that means that if I want to verify my Discord identity and link it to Solana, I have to do it at the Dienstlist instance, and I have to do the same thing at the Marinate instance, and the same thing at the Honeycomb instance. So the conclusion here is that decentralization actually leads to fragmentation. This is nothing new. This is not surprising. That's the whole idea. But it's inconvenient. So that's one of the challenges of having a decentralized setup. And as I said, this is a broader issue in the ecosystem. So if we look at, for instance, an app like Moonwalk Fitness, they just allow you to add your username and just fill it in. You can just type it in. Now, for a fitness app like Moonwalk, who cares? Like, it's not really super important. On a place like Superteam Earn, where actually money is involved, there you want to be able to know, is the other person who they claim they are? Like, I can say here I'm Elon Musk, which I'm clearly not. So yeah, the source is trust me, bro. And this is generally not a great thing in our ecosystem, especially when money is involved. So we think linking these identities is crucial to do it right. Yeah, as I said, decentralization leads to fragmentation, and we think we can fix that. And we do that with the new product called PubKey Protocol. PubKey Protocol allows users to create a profile with their social identities and wallets, and we store it on Solana. We use Solana as a database. It's public, it's open, everybody can read it, and this allows a transparent network of trust on the Solana blockchain that we can easily just read and fetch from. communities are allowed to verify these identities. So basically, instead of what was previously the status quo, where somebody goes to Dienstlist or Marinate, we verify and store it in our local database, they now verify it for you and store it on Solana. And you can see this cross-verification between the protocols. So we can go over this structure. A user goes into PubKey, they connect all of these identities, then the community vouches for this identity because they verified it, they store it on Solana, and we end up with your verified user on Solana. Now this by itself is kind of cool, but what it enables is even cooler, because any app that now wants can allow you to log in with any of these providers, ask Solana if it knows you, and if it does, you get back a verified identity. So this is kind of cool. In terms of Moonwalk Fitness, for instance, you can ask a user to log in with X, and then you know their Discord, their Telegram, their Solana wallet, etc. There's no need for additional verification, probably because other communities verified. But if you want, you can throw in an extra challenge and say, okay, you claim to own this wallet, re-verify it with me, right? But it definitely lowers the barrier of how this can work. And it enables this network, this directory of people on chain, and it can be leveraged by applications. They can be built on top of. So this is what it looks like from a UI point of view. Here we see a bunch of communities that we're hoping to launch with. And for each of these communities, they can tell which providers they're comfortable verifying with, or which providers they think is important for them. For instance, Gipwork, the marketplace, I think it's pretty relevant if they can verify that somebody has a certain GitHub account. This gives more credibility, gives better reputation to this user, and I'm more likely to hire this person if I can see that this is their GitHub and I can check what they've been doing. For a system like Marinate, this is probably not relevant, right? So I want to give the communities the ability to pick the things that are interesting for them, verify that part of your identity, and leave the other things alone. Leave that to other communities. And from a user point of view, this is kind of what you get back in the actual end state. So you can see my profile, and instead of just having like, hey, this is my X and I filled it in, you can actually see this is my X account. And by the way, these communities verified that this is the case. So it's no longer a trust me, bro. We now have a network of trust. Now, from a UI point of view, this is all DevNet, right? This is all in development. So we can probably polish this and make it look a bit more fluid. But the whole idea is here. We're moving this onto Solana, and we're letting communities verify the identities of their members. So to sum it up, PubKey protocol creates verified identities on Solana, and we do so in a decentralized way. It's open source, free to use. There's no single point of failure. As long as Solana is up, you can read the directory and read the index. The tools to actually do these verifications are self-hostable. Now, because we just launched hosting, we can probably host it for you if you don't want to do it yourself. But actually, I don't want to have the keys to your verification system. I'd much rather that somebody just runs it themselves, and I'll support them in doing so. It's a public good. As I said, it's free and open source. I'm not interested in making money off of this protocol. I'm interested in building on top of it and see if I can monetize that. But most importantly, it's an experiment. So I don't know if it's a good idea. I obviously think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure. And we need to see. We need to implement this, and we need to verify with communities if this is actually going to be nice. So it's available right now on Solana DevNet. I have a QR code in the end, next slide, I guess, where you can get a link to documentation, you can see the GitHub, and you can start experimenting with it. You can join our Discord and start asking questions, or tag me on Telegram or Twitter, wherever you like. And the next things that I'm going to build with this protocol, so I'm going to integrate it into PubKey Link. That's where the idea kind of got formalized, so it only makes sense to add that as a first-class support. And we're going to work with Gipwork to integrate it there as well. I'd love to explore collaboration with Realms because there it's equally interesting. And I know that FutureKey has a request for identity as well. Like, if I can see a FutureKey vote and I see, okay, Jose votes on this one, he votes bearish, he must have some knowledge. And if I trust in him, I might follow his vote. Whereas if it's an anonymous wallet, I don't really know, right? Now, one thing I want to iterate on, I'm not in the business of doxing anybody. So I'm not in the business of figuring out and matching links on your behalf. I want to give you the freedom to create your profile, to build your reputation. We're working on the premise of good actors here. Now that said, we're also thinking about adding a ban list, a public ban list, because if somebody treated bad in my community, I actually want to be able to flag this person and say, this guy is no longer welcome, or this girl, whatever, this person is no longer welcome. Now this is kind of maybe not what a lot of people want, but I think it's also needed in our community, because if you can see a person that's been behaving bad in a bunch of communities, you can at least keep an eye on this person. And then as soon as they start acting weird, you already know, okay, they did the same shit over there. Let's just go ahead. So this is probably not a lot of popular opinion for a bunch of scammers, of which we have a lot, but I think it's crucial in our ecosystem. And we should raise the bar with our levels of trust. That's been it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
You mentioned with decentralization comes fragmentation, right? So
Yes.
I have this idea, I might be wrong, so correct me. So yeah, correct me. So with the new token 22 extensions, right, isn't it possible for each instance to mint like a token 22 token? And in the memo feature is to include like a special ID for PubKey, and that way you kind of can connect every instance by fetching that ID on chain. So you kind of know what's in the PubKey ecosystem. Is that a good idea? Bad idea, possible, impossible?
It's an idea. I need to explore it more. One of the things that it does actually allow, and I don't have a screenshot on this, nor do I have my laptop, but we actually have a directory. It allows us to build a directory of everybody's there. So that's kind of nice. Now, those of you who are familiar with developing on Solana, you know that reading data from Solana is like horrible. It's like Solana is optimized for writing, and it does it extremely fast. So fetching data and reading it on the fly is a horror show as soon as your size starts scaling. So yeah, maybe using a token program for this is an interesting opportunity. Another thing that I've kind of got red pilled on, mainly after yesterday, is maybe use Metaplex Core. Well, Metaplex Core at its base is an NFT, but you can add plugins. And then the nice thing, the kind of thing that I envision is if you can have your profile appear as an NFT in your wallet, this would be kind of cool. But we need to figure out.
Yeah, like NFT cores could be like also an alternative to token 22, like where each instance means an NFT core and it can be tracked by the NFT. You know, PubKey maybe has this problem of tracking communities where who is hosting what. But, you know, we could make this ecosystem connect each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I deliberately did with PubKey protocol, I kept it as simple as possible. So because it's really tempting to start adding like, oh, reputation layer. Let's add some point system. Let's link up other things. Maybe people want a chat app. Maybe people want social applications. I think this should be a public good building protocol, and people are going to build on top of it, if it works. If it doesn't work, I'd love to hear feedback and have people test it and actually like, yeah, let's break it. Go. I think there's a question in the back.
Have you done any work or have you connected with the guys of Civic?
Civic, this is a great question. I've not explored what this would look like, but I'm definitely interested in integrating this. I think Civic does a very important part where they verify like your actual identity. Like Civic allows you to verify your passport or your national identity, and then you actually know if somebody who's there. There's a bunch of options here. If you think about this this flow here, these are the providers that I support, and this list can be infinite, right? This list is already not complete. We want to add support for Farcaster, Add Protocol, Telegram is there, but Google is already there. Like if somebody wants Instagram or TikTok, even though that I don't use it, yes, let's add it, let's do it. So I think Civic kind of fits in there. Where inside PubKey, you say, oh, I also have a verified Civic protocol. It's that one over there. Before I get into the business of actual identity verification, I think we have to wait a bit more, because it's not a particularly interesting thing for me to fix because of necessity. So I'd much rather offload that to somebody like Civic and have them do that. Great question. Any others? All crystal clear. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.